Let me know when we're on.
Alrighty, we are live. This is Deadly Tarantula Girl coming to you from my indoor studio. I'm here with the fantastic and amazing Mr. Dav Kaufman.
Hi, everybody.
And so this is going to be a long intro because he's one of my maybe more interesting and well-known guests. So Dave is probably most commonly known currently for his YouTube series, Dav Kaufman's Reptile Adventures.
Right.
Yes, he's rocking his own swag there. He also has a second YouTube channel, which is a vlog. Together, he has around 10 million views and about 70K subs, so that's pretty awesome. He's sort of a big deal.
I didn't know I had that many.
Yeah, I just checked this morning.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, he actually only surpassed me about 3 months ago, so I've been keeping an eye on you, mister.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, so Dave's actually been involved either producing, filming, directing, or writing over 10 films, which have been featured by Lionsgate, Netflix, Redbox, etc.
Right.
He's an award-winning filmmaker and acclaimed writer and photographer. His films and photography has received a lot of accolade, and his things have been printed in Reptile magazine, Boundary Waters Journal, and Rise magazine.
Wow, you did your homework, dang.
He's one of the founders of a music festival, the Wild River Music Comedy and Film Festival.
Right.
Of course, I first discovered him when he produced and filmed and produced the trilogy, the Herpers DVDs, Herpers 1, 2, and 3, which were awesome. And he also has an award-winning film called 13 Hours in a Warehouse.
Yep, that was my first movie.
That's very cool. It won Best Horror and some other awards. Now, this is also very interesting, and believe me, I'm going to let you talk, but I want everyone to know who they're looking at here. So, Dav Kaufman is an avid outdoorsman and conservationist. Actually, in 1998, he almost lost his life while he was on the beach in Costa Rica during a 6-hour siege, protecting some sea turtle nests. So, tell us about that.
So it was in a tone. It was in a. Wow, I started this off wonderfully, didn't I? It was in a town called Ostional, and it's up in the Guanacaste Peninsula, and it's where one of just a couple of places on Earth where an arrabata happens. And an arrabata is when thousands of sea turtles come ashore to nest every month. And what was happening is that the locals were going out there and just taking all the eggs, selling them to the Asian markets for aphrodisiacs, and decimating the species. And there was some problems where some of these poachers weren't even waiting, for the turtles to lay their eggs. They were just hacking them open with machetes and taking the eggs out of the mother. It was a terrible mess. Well, some friends of mine were the managers of the sea turtle research facility out there, and they came up with a plan to control the harvest. And so I did a fundraiser here in the United States, and I went down there with power tools and money, and we went down there to go rebuild the facility that the poachers had burnt down in protest to these laws that were implemented. And they didn't tell me that the war wasn't over.
Wow.
So I got down there, and they trapped us in the ruins of the research facility. They had pistols and machetes. We had step shovels.
Wow.
And I knew pretty much that that's where I was checking out. And I kept picking out faces in the crowd of who I was going to take down with me. And it was that intense. I mean, they were going to kill us. If it wasn't for the OIJ, which is the equivalent of the FBI in Costa Rica that came and rescued us, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now.
Wow, that's really crazy.
Yep.
So the outcome was that the poachers were, caught, that you guys made it out alive. That is really intense. So I have to ask.
As a matter of fact, I've written 2 books before. One of them was a novel, and I actually wrote a novel based on those experiences, and I hope that it'll be out by Tinley.
Oh, wow. So that'll be a new book.
Yep. So it's called Elysium Coast.
Wow, that's incredible. You'll have to keep me posted on that.
I will.
So I have to ask, after such a terrifying experience, what gave you the courage to go back out into the wild and continue the good fight?
I just now go where there's, very little humans. Humans are the most dangerous thing on the planet, and I literally fear nothing in my life. I fear nothing except for people.
Wow, I totally agree with you. People have, questioned my mental stability working with venomous and, doing some of the things that I do. And I try and explain to people over and over that mankind is the most aggressive, the most dangerous, the most violent animal.
Destructive, ignorant.
The only animal that kills purely for entertainment, really in general, and the most destructive as well.
Right.
That is, wow, just really, really wild. So for those of you who didn't know, which I imagine you all do, Dave obviously is also a reptile breeder, which is kind of how this all came to be. Mm-hmm. So tell us about baby Dave and, kind of your educational background and how you started in all this. You're a relatively young man, but yet you go back in the hobby quite a ways.
Yeah, I'm not young anymore.
You are young. I know how old you are. Don't say you're old because I'm not.
I just did the big 5-0. My love of reptiles goes back to when I was 9 years old, and I caught a garter snake, actually in my parents' front yard, or my boyhood home front yard, as it were. And I was infatuated with them immediately, and so I just wanted to, absorb everything that I could about reptiles and about snakes in general. Some years later, I caught a bull snake, which is Minnesota's largest non-venomous snake. And somebody told me that I should breed them. And I was like, you can do that? And so he said, yeah, let's find out if you have a male or a female bull snake. So we did. And mine was a male. And he goes, I have a female. And he came over one day. We didn't cool them down. We didn't give them brumation. We just introduced male to female, and they immediately bred.
Wow.
And it was a viable clutch. And I was like, wow, this is easy. Huh? And and then as as most of us know, no, it's not. So anyway, that was in the early 90s.
That was the beginning. All right.
And that was the beginning of it. And every year since then, with maybe 1 or 2, 3 years in between there, I've been breeding snakes.
Interesting. That's amazing.
I sold my collection to move to LA to go to film school. Okay. And then as soon as I moved back to Minnesota, I built the collection up again.
Interesting. So you do have a formal background in filmography and things of that nature.
Yeah. I have a degree in media and history, actually.
Awesome. So obviously that explains how you were able to break into the film industry. So talk to us just for a few minutes about your current film projects and what's to come soon.
Hang on a second.
All righty. So that was David.
I'm pulling my hair everywhere. All right. So what did you ask? Current film projects?
Yes, please.
YouTube.
Perfect.
I'm having more fun making these videos for YouTube than I did on any other film project I've ever worked on.
So your break into the reptile film world, from what I know, were the Herpers DVDs.
Right.
So tell me what made you change course from having now you're a one-man show at this point, right?
Right. So
what about the Herpers DVDs? Was that kind of along the same fashion of you filming yourself, editing yourself, producing?
No. As a matter of fact, so I made 13 Hours in a Warehouse, and that film did very well. And I had another horror film that I'm still probably going to do, and things that I'm working on with Netflix, actually. But shh.
Oh,
but anyway,
don't tell anyone.
Yeah. It's so in its infancy. Who knows what's going to happen from here? But anyway, yeah. So I wanted to break into documentary filmmaking because I love documentaries, and I was trying to think about what to do the documentary on, and I came up nothing. I mean, I wanted to maybe, do I want to do a political documentary, a social warrior documentary, and nothing really like clicked. Everything seemed forced to me. And then I'm in the reptile room and I'm, cleaning cages. And I got a call from somebody, this is a while ago, and they said, what are you doing? I said, I'm cleaning snake cages. And they said, well, why do you do that? Why do you have snakes? And I paused for a minute and I said, oh my God, there it is. And I said, I'm going to do a documentary of why people keep snakes. And so I actually made the first herpers with the intent to, show non-herpers what we do and who we are.
Right.
And it was going to be the first of its kind. Nobody had ever attempted this before, but it was so popular with herpers that then I made Herpers 2 with the intent to, for herpers, not for non-herpers.
Right.
And then that film did and then I did part 3, and that film didn't do very well. And the reason why is because at that point, streaming was happening, and I was trying to sell DVDs, and nobody really had a DVD player anymore. People were getting rid of, that technology, and they were going into a newer technology. And that leads me up to the YouTube channel because I was going to do Herpers 4, and it was going to be called The Global Phenomenon. So I had episodes from Australia, I had episodes from Canada, and I was going to go to Europe, and I was going to go all over the world and show how herpers all over the world do it for Herpers 4. And then as Herpers 3 did not do as well, I was like, I'm not going to go out and raise another $50,000 to produce a DVD that I can't, that I know that is not going to recoup that investment for my investor.
Right.
So I sat on this footage for a long time. And then I don't even know how it happened. I think I was driving down the road one day, and I said, you know what, just throw all that footage up on YouTube. You're not going to make this movie. Just cut them into episodes, throw it up on YouTube, see what happens. And that's how the channel started. It was called Herpers TV.
So was that in 2014? Is that the channel that turned into Dav Kaufman's Reptile Adventures?
Right. So I started in 2014. Wow. And then I did that for 2 years, but I only uploaded like once a month. I mean, it was a hobby for me.
Right, right.
And then during that time, I was back in school to get another degree. And so I really didn't have time to do the YouTube thing. So I never stoked that fire. And I just literally threw videos up on YouTube and walked away. And I had no idea how YouTube worked. I had no idea how the algorithm worked. If I knew now what I knew then, I would have done it completely differently. Isn't that the thing that everybody says about their
right? So I'm wondering how so. What would you have done differently? I
would have paid much more attention to upload times, much more attention to how the algorithm works. The algorithm constantly changes, exactly. and therefore, But at the time, I would have looked at it more seriously than I was.
Right.
And then, after a while, let's face it, I got sick of people calling it Herpes TV. And even herpers were coming up to me and going, "Hey, you're the Herpes TV guy."
Wow.
And I'm like, yeah, okay. But anyway, I then changed it to the Reptile channel. And right about that time, there's another channel that came on the scene called the Reptile channel. And it's not a reptile channel. It's actually a sex fetish channel that shows large predatory animals killing and consuming small mammals.
Wow.
And there's a whole underground crap of people that, they see that as a sexual fetish.
Right.
So every time real herpers are watching the Reptile channel, nobody knows what they're actually watching. It's like watching, Pornhub and not realizing that you're watching porn.
Right.
And so I got an attorney involved, and because they are based in Mexico, and then they claim that they're an American company, but they're actually based in Mexico, it would be very, very expensive for us to fight them.
Wow.
And so at that point, I was just gonna shut down the channel and concentrate on my vlog channel. And then I just thought, you have all these subscribers, you have all of these followers, you can make a couple of videos and say, hey, go to my vlog channel, but how many of them are actually going to go over there? And so I said, I'm going to do more reptile-related vlogs on this channel and change the name to Dave Kaufman's Reptile Adventures.
I see.
And so I did that a year ago, April, and I started those with the New Caledonia videos. And you can see on my analytics, it just, the views and the subscribers are flatlining. And then as soon as I changed it to Reptile Adventures, point up here, and it stayed up there. And so it was a very, very good decision.
Awesome.
So that answers your question in 25 minutes or less.
That's perfect. Yeah, I definitely was hoping for kind of a story time with you. So yeah, I mean, obviously you're amazing. You're definitely finding success. So you and I came onto the reptile scene, although no one knew about me till more recently. Who would you say are your closest mentors and colleagues in the reptile and in the animal film world?
David Attenborough. He is my hero for so many reasons. But in the reptile world itself, Tom Crutchfield and I are very good friends. When we get together, when I'm down in Florida, we talk a little bit about reptiles and then a lot about life. And I really, he is a very, very good friend. But I'm one of those people that, there's a lot of drama in the reptile world.
Yes.
A lot of drama, and I try my best to stay away from it as much as I can, and try to see everybody as equal in what they are doing in the reptile world. So there's a social status in the reptile world, and I this guy breeds 2 geckos. Oh, so whatever. He's just or this guy has a multi-million-dollar facility. So we think about the guy who breeds a pair of geckos in his living room that's down here. The guy with the multi-million-dollar facility is up here in the social standing in the reptile world. I don't see that. I see them here. If you are into reptiles, you are a herper.
Right.
And therefore, I don't really, I don't really have any one specific person that I idolize. I kind of look at everybody for the merits of what they're working with and what they're working on. So I don't know. Is that convoluted?
No, that's absolutely amazing. I get criticized sometimes for kind of, number one, I don't personally follow the trends as far as what animals people are keeping. I like what I like, no matter what other people like, regardless of whether it's a financially sound decision or not. I work with animals that I love because I have a passion for animals, not that I'm out to get rich. Now, being rich would be great. That'd be so great. But I love animals. That's just a blessing and a curse, I guess. But yes, also too, that I, value people that love animals for that reason, not necessarily for their following or, how much money they've made.
Right.
I also have a problem too, though, with some of the people that are on the upper crust being kind of hated by everyone else. I really have an issue with that. And I know that there's some validity to, oh, I got a bad snake from that guy or whatever. But in general, it's people hating to hate. Based out of envy.
I agree.
So I wanted to give a quick shout out to a couple people that are here on the live chat. Mike Miss, J-Dog, TJ's Exotics, Diego Villa, they're here. TJ's Exotics saying he remembers way back when you were doing Herpers TV. Diego's one of my students at school, and so he's saying hi to me.
Hey, what's up?
J-Dog is saying that he's one of your subscribers, and they're kind of saying hi to you and hi to me and hi to each other. So thanks for being on, guys. Make sure and let me know if you have any specific questions for Dave. He's here to tell all. So tell me a little bit about earlier in the 90s, before reptiles were mainstream. Tell me a little bit about how things have changed between now and then, and what we can do to kind of further the cause.
It's a completely different world between now and what it was 25 years ago.
Right.
Completely different world. I'll give you an example. So Mark Bailey, a lot of you guys know, he's one of the, he's a very well-known and talented ball python breeder.
Yes, he'd be known as a designer.
That's correct.
Yes.
So Mark and I have been friends since the early 90s. Back when he had 2 corn snakes in a 10-gallon cage. That's where he and I met, and we became very good friends. Well, in about 95-ish, 96-ish, whatever, I got ball pythons in from a place in Florida. I don't even remember where it was. And it turns out that, and back then, the ball pythons that you got were full of mites and still had ticks on them from Africa.
Right.
And of course, they had a gut full of worms and parasites. Yes. That's how the ball pythons came in. You do that now, you would be so berated in this community that you might as well go be a horse person, because the reptile world will kick you out the door. But anyway, that was the norm back then. Right.
That was acceptable.
Right. And so the first thing you did was you treated for mites, you picked the ticks off with the tweezers, and then you gave them whatever you gave them to, get rid of the internal parasites. So it turns out that after I did that, you would have to buy 10 of them for maybe 2 of them to survive longer than a month or so. They came in emaciated, stressed. That was the norm.
Right.
So 2 of the ones that I had turned out to be male and female. So I called up Mark Bailey, and I said, "Hey, man, do you have any idea how to get ball pythons to breed?" And he goes, "What the hell would you want to breed ball pythons for?"
Right.
And now he is one of the premier ball python breeders, and I give him his due shit over that, like almost every time we talk. But anyway, that was the point, is that back then nobody knew how to breed anything. There weren't any. There were morphs, but there were morphs that were locales.
Right.
So it wasn't like we didn't have super tiger retics or snow this or axanthic that.
Right.
The morphs were the locales, especially with like gray banded king snakes. Where in South Texas did this particular gray band come from and whatever, yeah. So it was the locales that were the morphs. And in boas, you had the Colombian boas, or you had the really sought after Suriname boas, and that Suriname, that was the morphs. So yeah, I mean, it's come light years in 25 years, and in 25 years from now, it's going to be unrecognizable compared to what we have here.
So let's talk about that a little bit. There's been a lot of push from the government to ban or illegalize or so closely regulate that it really, really hinders our rights as breeders and as keepers.
Right.
I mean, just recently I was contacted by some Floridians who they were concerned because this yellow anaconda ban had gone in overnight, just like boom, okay, not only are yellow anacondas illegal to move across state lines, they're illegal to own. And the state did not go through the proper channels to propose the bill and, all the stuff that the public is allowed to rebut, and it just happened. And so I'm working with USARC and some other people about.
And that's what to do.
Exactly. And of course, if you don't support USARC, please get on their website and join. They are incredible. They're doing things every single day to help protect our rights and ultimately then protect the animals, because the more interest there is in the animals, the better their preservation and conservation efforts will be.
Right.
Which is why I believe in zoos. That's just my personal little thing. So tell us, in your opinion, what we as hobbyists and breeders can do that's most impactful or significant to help protect our rights, ultimately the animals.
Support USARC, number 1. Number 2, support USARC. Number 3, support USARC. Number 4, stay in tune to what is happening. when you see that there's something happening in Florida or West Virginia or Colorado or wherever, somewhere that is not your home, pay attention, get involved, and just know what is happening in the world. And the way to know what's happening in our world is through USARC's website, USARC's mailers, things like that. They will always come after us first. They won't come after the dog people or the cat people or the horse people. They won't come after the fish people. They will come after us. And the reason why they come after us is because the people that are making laws are ignorant when it comes to reptiles.
Exactly.
Reptiles are still seen as dangerous and scary and evil, and the people that love them are considered to be the same.
Right. Absolutely.
And so we are an easy target. And that's why whenever I see, somebody walking around in public with a boa raptor on their head, I really want to take the snake and say, you've lost your rights to keep the snake. And because that makes all of us look bad. It doesn't matter how many people like you and me and all the other people out there that are fighting so hard to reshape the image of what a herper is. There could be 100 of us showing that we're responsible, that we care about our animals, that we're not the stereotype that they believe that we are. All of that is instantly erased at the moment that some asshole out there walks around a park with a boa constrictor around its neck, neck. And So that's what starts legislation. That's what starts the public saying these are scary. The people that keep these are scary.
Right.
So it's all about image, and it really is. And it's the way that we portray ourselves and show ourselves to the general public of who we are.
Right.
That is extremely important. Now, I'm going to go off on a tangent here because, I do have a degree in history. And I do know exactly what, you can't tell exactly, but certainly I have my finger on the pulse of what was going through the minds of the founding fathers when they created this country. And the number one thing, all of the Constitution can be summed down into one phrase: the government should stay the hell out of the people's lives.
Right.
And that has never happened. The government is constantly meddling in our lives. The government is constantly making laws that dictate our actions and what we can and can't do. Most of it is absolutely unconstitutional. That being said, we have no rights to keep snakes in our house. We have no rights to keep the animals that we want to keep, because it's not a right. The government sees it as a privilege, not a right. It's like a driver's license. And therefore, because the government sees it that way, it's very hard to sometimes fight this legislation, because the legislation that is happening, they believe that they're in the right.
Right.
The only way that we are going to fight them is to stay as informed as you possibly can be and support USARC.
I think another thing that's important is to be cautious in how we present ourselves. So I think the idiot who is getting drunk and throwing rabbits at his retic online, and making sure to film the eyeballs popping out so everyone can see how gross and scary it is.
Right.
Now, do I feed rabbits to my retics? I absolutely do. Am I very, very cautious in how I present that? Of course I am, because those animals have just as much a right to eat and to live and be healthy and have what they need, just as much as my dog who eats kibble does.
Right.
However, America's not really ready to see that. Just the way I don't necessarily want to see the hamburger that I'm eating. I don't really want to think about that bolt going through that cow's head. Now, am I opposed to that? No, but it's kind of, it can seem upsetting in the wrong circumstance. So I think presenting ourselves responsibly, and also just educating those around you the best that you can. You and I have our channels, and that is one thing we can do. The American media has been notorious for vilifying these animals and their keepers, as you have mentioned.
Yep.
And so just one person at a time, showing how beautiful, how gentle, how amazing, how important these animals are, I think goes a long way. But obviously we do that one person at a time, or you and I, by views at a time.
Right.
But US Art can do that on a global scale because they consolidate all of our memes and they make a huge, huge impact. Right. So yeah, I agree with you like 1000%.
Cool.
Awesome. You are so awesome. So let's see. I would love to hear quickly your take on the spider gene debacle going on in the ball python world right now.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy. There's a reason I did not make a video about that when everybody else in the world was making videos about that. The spider gene, it does have a problem. There is a wobble. There is a neurotic issue with the spider. It's the same with a number of other genes and other snakes. The idea to say to somebody, "This is wrong. You can't have that. I'm going to ban that from you," is so wrong. You don't go out and make bans because somebody is doing something that you don't agree with. That being said, yeah, I think that there's a personal responsibility that should be taken into consideration when knowingly breeding a gene that has this issue. And I think that, the greatest way to change a behavior is to, is from societal pressures. Mm-hmm. So the spider gene is going to take care of itself, because if you go back 10 years, let's say you go to Tinley Park 10 years ago, the spider gene was prevalent. There were honeybees and bumblebees and killer bees and all sorts of spider morphs all over the place. Okay? This October in Tinley, you may see a handful of spiders. Nobody really is working with the gene anymore. Right. So I think that the problem is going to. I don't know. It's not a black and white, of total banning the gene and breeding 1,000 snakes with neurotic issues. But somewhere in that gray area, what's going to happen is that the demand for the snake is going to wane, as it has, and therefore people are going to stop breeding it because of that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Number one, I feel like we have an amazing country, but we also have a responsibility to keep it amazing by, number one, behaving as responsibly as we can.
Right, we have a responsibility to be responsible.
Exactly. But on the other hand, that we should be able to stand up and fight for those liberties and fight for those freedoms. Right. If spider is my very favorite morph in the world and I really want to, make that killer bee or, whatever it is that has spider in it, as long as, now I will say I've never seen a spider, a ball python that had spider in it that I really felt like was depressed or hated its life. To me, an animal that's feeding and growing,
that's a good point.
It's a happy animal. Now, there are ball pythons that have failed to thrive, some that have the spider gene and some that haven't, just like any other species of animal in the world. And there are many breeds of dog that have so many health issues.
Look at pugs.
Yeah, I mean, English bulldogs cannot give birth without cesarean operation, and yet
they can hardly breathe.
Yeah, exactly. But if you want to keep an English bulldog, more power to you. As long as your animal is, safe and cared for, and no one's getting hurt, I believe that we should all have a right to do it.
Yep.
Okay, so now I'm dying to know, in all of your travels, what has been the most amazing thing that you have seen? I mean, I know I hate saying the most.
Boy, oh boy.
Tell me an amazing thing that you have seen that just stands out in your mind.
In Thailand, getting almost having the car turned into a tinfoil ball by a big breeding in rut male elephant.
Wow. Tell us that story.
Huge bull. So we were at one of the national parks in southern Thailand, and we were going down looking for the Pope's viper, which is only found in this one little area. It's only found along streams. You have to go to very specific places.
Pope's vipers.
Right. We didn't find it. But as we were driving down this dirt road, we got to the stream. We started looking around the stream at night. Couldn't find it. Immediately went back. So we were there for 20 minutes. And as we went back down this road, all the bamboo was knocked over the road. And so there's obviously an elephant in the area. We've only been there 20 minutes. This elephant is close. So we had to get out of the car and, move all the bamboo off the road so we could drive by, knowing that there was a big, big elephant in the area.
Wow.
And so we get back in the car and we start driving. And as we drive, so we're driving down the road, like if you can imagine this is the road. So we're driving down the road. Out of the forest comes this huge bull, and he just starts walking along the car. He could have gone, bam, and the car would have rolled over into the forest. He could have come, stomped it, we'd be dead. But the thing is I don't know why he didn't. Because when elephants go into ruts, they have glands right on the top of their head behind their eyes here. And those glands leak all the way down their face. And so if you see a big bull elephant with stuff leaking out its face, that animal is in a rut. And when bull elephants go into rut, they get crazy.
Yes.
So anyway, we slammed on the brakes. The elephant kept running down the road, but then he turned around and faced us. And we're like, that's it. He's charging us.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm going to embarrass the hell out of him, but I was with Mike Pinkleton on that trip. And Mike Pinkleton is he's a ardent nature photographer. He grabs the shot. So as we're like in this, Mexican standoff with this huge bull elephant, Mike sticks his camera out the window and flashes. And we watch this elephant's ears just go. And the guide that we were with says, no flashes, no flashes.
Oh my gosh.
And all of a sudden the elephant starts charging us.
Ah.
Well, we put it into reverse. We're going backwards. We're not even going backwards. We have no idea where the road ends. So if we're going to smash into the forest, I'm just sitting in the back seat going, well, here's another point where I'm going to die.
Right.
And for some reason, he never engaged with us. He just ran off into the forest.
Huh.
So we turned off, we just sat there for a second thinking maybe he's going to come around and hit us in the side of the car. We weren't out of danger yet.
Right.
After about 20 minutes of just sitting there waiting and listening, we started inching a little bit forward, stopped to see if he was there, inched a little bit forward. Obviously, we got out of it. We got back to the campsite. And that night, I'm in my tent, and we're like camping in the middle of the jungle. We just found a clearing and pitched tents. And that night, I hear something outside my tent, and I go to unzip, and standing from like me to the back wall back there is that bull elephant sniffing all over the tents, wondering what the hell we were doing there. I was like, if I wasn't protected in a car, all he has to do is step on the tent and I'm gone.
Wow.
And that's when I was actually really afraid was, maybe I'd survive, getting the car smashed. This elephant steps on my tent, that's it. And he just kind of wandered off. I mean, it was really kind of anticlimactic, but that was one of the most incredible things that I have ever seen in the field.
Wow. I mean, I'm sure you know this. Elephants are highly, highly intelligent.
Right.
They have been documented remembering people or other elephant acquaintances over like 20-year periods, obviously recognizing them. And I think one of the saddest things that I've learned of is elephant graveyards.
Right. They go to visit their, yep.
And they will often stand in those areas and just caress the bones with their trunk and just wail for 3 or 4 days and kind of mourn the loss of their loved ones, or I don't know, maybe it was elephants they knew, maybe it wasn't, before they kind of continue on with their migration.
Right.
And, that's the kind of love and reverence that people don't often show for each other. And they're just a beautiful, incredible, powerful animal. And wow, how amazing.
Yeah, they are. But yeah, seeing a big, a bull and Rhett out in the wilds.
Yeah, that would be
an
experience.
Yeah. But no, we saw plenty of elephants, and every one of them, just watching them and realizing that you are in the same space as they are. It's so cliche, but it really does take your breath away. We sat for hours and just watched the elephants. We were out there to find reticulated pythons and king cobras. Watching the elephants, I couldn't. King cobra could have come up to me at that point, and I would be more fixated on the elephants at that point.
Wow.
They're just beautiful, beautiful, graceful animals.
They are very graceful.
Yeah.
Amazing. A couple more people have jumped on the chat here. I wanted to just thank them for coming on. EMS Games, TJ's Exotics, Going Uper, Moving Kaya, JV, Sissy Martinez, Anthony Alexander, Jerry Nas, and they're just kind of chatting it up, and they're kind of talking a little bit about the spider gene and your adventures, and kind of being silly on here. So, what was the most exciting place that you've ever visited that you're dying to go back to?
Thailand.
I would love to go there. How many times have you visited Thailand?
Just once.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So I'm planning to do that trip in December.
Wow. Winter and rainy season. So what's it going to be like when you go in December?
Right on the edge of the rainy season.
Okay.
Yeah. So we were there in February, which was the dry season, which everybody tells you not to go in the dry season. And we've been trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty. Anyway, Thailand. Yes, where was I? December, wet season. So we were there in the dry season. I liked it better because you could, just camp out at water sources.
Yeah.
And all the animals would come into the water source. In the wet season, they're dispersed. So, and it's harder to see all the animals. So, yeah, I'm planning for December, but we'll see how that all turns out. But it's going to be not the dry season and not the wet season. So I'm going to try it in between the seasons and see how that shapes up.
So what continent or country had you gone to that you feel like has the most hospitable people?
Ecuador.
Ooh, tell me about that.
Ecuador and Israel, probably. Yeah. I just, I went to Peru, and then just 6 months ago I was in Ecuador. I kind of assumed that, it was going to be the same, and it really wasn't. The people of Peru were extremely hospitable and very friendly. But Ecuador, Quito was beautiful. It's a modern city. The poverty that I saw in Costa Rica and Peru, it exists in Ecuador, but it doesn't exist as much as it does. And the people are just very curious and friendly, and it was kind of Israel is really interesting because they all live in this tinderbox, of strife and warfare and whatever. Not so much in Israel, but in the neighboring Middle East.
Right.
And people were just happy, friendly. This is happening in our world, but so much more is also happening. And so much good is also happening. So, they're just very upbeat, positive people, and I had a blast there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I haven't traveled much abroad. I've been to Honduras, Cozumel, and Belize, and I had planned that trip, and then I was injured my ankle, and I actually. So let's see. I traveled in June, and I injured my ankle April 1st because it was April Fool's Day, and people were like, "Did that really happen to you?" And, So I actually still had an orthopedic boot on, and I went hiking through the jungle. I was like, I am not going to sit around. I still swam in the ocean. I mean, it was painful, but nobody was stopping me. I didn't even care. It was so incredible.
Right.
Now, we don't have any full-time employees taking care of our animals while we're gone. So it is difficult to get away from our collection for more than 3 days at the most. So we really kind of stay in the Southwest area, Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, California occasionally. I'm dying to go to Tinley this fall. I'm going to get there. It's going to be Tinley or bust.
It'll be a good show.
What'd you say? Yeah. Oh, of course. Of course it's going to be good.
I mean, I'm kind of biased, but you know.
Yeah. But I really, one of the only reasons why I would ever want full-time employees, because I am that crazy person that wants to be looking at the animals myself, looking at their poop, their eggs, their, sheds, seeing, you have to be in tune with your animals to really know as a breeder what's going on. I think it's really interesting that a lot of people are like buying 2 adult snakes and then saying like, how do I breed these? And I'm like, but you've never even had a baby snake, or, like you don't know about your animals yet. But no judgment. I just find it interesting.
Right.
And, we live in an information age, and so people are doing that. And I think that's awesome. That's not how I did it. But some of them are way further along than I am.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, I guess for me, maybe it's more about the experience. But
well, that's the thing about me traveling is that, there's a lot of stuff I want to keep.
Right.
But I can't. I can't have anything that really misses me when I travel.
Yeah.
And I have caretakers that come over and, take care of business. But, I'd love this back wall. I would love to be all gargoyle geckos.
Yeah.
Until I stay put, that's not going to happen.
Exactly. Yeah, I totally understand. So I know that you are actually, I would say your breeding history, you're probably most well known for bull snakes and maybe ball pythons. What are some of the things that you've enjoyed breeding through the years, and maybe something that you're kind of missing right now?
I'll tell you, boas was not it.
Okay.
I bred boas for 2 years, and I loved seeing all little babies, but that mess. Okay. No. No, that was the end of my boas. However, I do have some rainbow boas that I'm gonna work a little bit with here. But yeah, the boas, I don't miss that mess at all. I kind of have.
Are you talking about the mess of the miracle of birth?
I'm talking about that mess. That disgusting, putrid miracle.
Oh, you're listening to plaything? Oh, come on.
Yeah. Bull snakes have always been my number one, passion when it comes to snakes. I'll scroll through Facebook and I'll see a picture of an albino. I've seen a million albino bull snakes, but I will stop scrolling to stare at that snake.
Yeah.
There's just something about bull snakes that I absolutely love. Never been able to put my finger on it. They're just awesome snakes. And so in the other room over there, I've got plenty of eggs in the incubator already. I just love them. But, I bred, there's a lot that I've bred over the years. And there's a lot that I don't miss more than things that I do miss, I think.
Okay.
Chameleons I don't miss. Breeding those, too many eggs, too many little babies, too many pinhead crickets.
Yep.
It's a lot of work. That's why I think that there's people that specialize in chameleons, and that's all they have is chameleons.
Right.
Or there's people that specialize in crested geckos, and that's all that they have is those.
Right.
Because of the, I like diversity.
Uh-huh.
But let's face it, when you have that kind of diversity, you are paying attention to this over here. Well, this needs more attention than that, and your focus is drawn away from something that you really need to have almost 100% of your attention on.
Yeah, there are some animals that I consider like a specialty niche.
Right.
And it's hard to do that thing and do other things as well.
Right. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. So anyway, I think does that answer? I mean, I'll always be doing ball pythons. I specialize in pieds and pied morphs. Constantly making, I produce pieds to sell, but I also produce, pieds that I hold back, that I'm trying to make new morphs of pieds.
Cool.
Yep. So I have in the incubator right now, I've got Mojave GHI Inchy that I bred to a pied, and so I'll be holding most of that clutch back. Nobody's ever done a Mojave GHI Inchy pied that I'm aware of.
Right.
I probably won't be the first one. That's never my goal to be the first one of something. But it'll be the first time for me, and that's good enough for me.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
So tell me what is, and I'm talking like no holds barred, money is not a factor, time's not a factor, nothing. The law is not a factor. What's your bucket list animal to keep and place to go? Or maybe animal to see in the wild?
I want to see them all.
Okay.
Yep. And right now my plans, I'm planning trips for the entire next year.
Wow.
And when I plan my trips on what I'm going to film for the channel, I don't plan on destination. I plan on what I'm going to see and what videos I'm going to film.
Cool.
So there is a ton of stuff out there that I want to go out and I want to film. As many documentaries as there are on the Galapagos, those documentaries never show what the Galapagos are really like. They show this iguana and this tortoise and say, this is the Galapagos. No, It's not. Every island has a different species of iguana and a different species of tortoise. No one really knows this. So the Galapagos is on my list to tell that story, to go island hopping, to show different tortoises. Like there was maybe a year ago or so, there was an article that came out that the last Galapagos tortoise became extinct. The last Galapagos tortoise died.
I saw that.
And everybody lost their shit. And I was like, of that species on that island, nobody tells the story of that there isn't just a Galapagos tortoise. There isn't just a marine iguana. There's tons of species of tortoises and iguanas out there. So that's one of the things that I'm going to do this year. I'm going to go back to Thailand to do reticulated pythons in the wild, Burmese pythons in the wild videos, tokay geckos in the wild.
Awesome.
A lot of the stuff that we have in herpetoculture came from Southeast Asia.
Yes.
And Africa, ball pythons in the wild. So yeah, I'm starting to plan for like the next year of videos that I'm going to be doing, and all of that's on there. So, as far as my holy grail snake or reptile that I want to keep if money was no object, that is a very, very, very good question. It would have to be the Bell's Phase lace monitor.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah, which I will get one day.
Yeah, me too. I'm working on one right now. I don't think it's going to happen this year, but a girl can dream.
Yeah.
So, let's see. What was I going to ask you? It was something else super duper important. I guess, gosh, it just totally gone.
Does anybody in the comments have any questions?
Yeah, let me jump back over to our peeps. I haven't been paying you've been so riveting. I've been ignoring you for once today. So let's see what's going on in the comment feed. People are gabbing a little bit about spiders, their own YouTube channels. Elephants are amazing. Dark Tanks got on asking if there are any tokay breeders. Gotta love Carpet Pythons is saying that she can't wait to see your new shows.
Thanks.
Let's see. Oh, some people were talking about how, kind of those couple bad apples, you know, kind of do damage us. So I was curious, kind of what your process is when you're planning a new project as far as planning, fundraising. I mean, do you do all of that yourself?
Yeah. Yep. When you work in movies, you basically, I always equate a film crew with an army. And at the end of that, at the end of production, it's just you with the footage in the editing room. And that's what I found that I really enjoyed, was just me in the quiet, editing, putting the project together. And then slowly but surely, that kind of moved into production, where I just kind of felt like if I'm doing my own production by myself, I get more creative, I get more, motivated, I guess. Yeah, I am a one-man band now, and I really enjoy it. I do all my marketing, which I shouldn't be doing. I should be hiring somebody for that. And I will hire somebody to do marketing. I just need somebody that knows social media to do it. Yeah, I figure out what videos I'm going to shoot, where I'm going to go, and then I get on, the computer, and I figure out where I'm going to stay, where I'm going to fly, what the best tickets are. I fly very, very inexpensively because I know how to do it. I know the secrets. So, I don't know. I think I flew to Ecuador for $400.
Wow.
Yeah. When I was in Europe last year,
we're dying to know.
I flew to Amsterdam. I think it was $550 or something.
Wow.
Like that. Yeah. So there are very specific airports that it's cheaper to fly out of in the United States. And so if you buy a domestic flight to those airports, you can get international flights out of those airports for sometimes $1,000 cheaper than your hometown airport.
Wow.
You just have to know where the ports are, where this airline is headquartered.
Right.
And if you're flying out of an airline's headquarters, it's thousands. It could be thousands. It's hundreds, but it could be almost $1,000 cheaper to fly out of that airline's headquarters.
Wow, that's incredible. Good, very good to know for all of you who are looking for adventures abroad.
So yeah, that's how I fly. That's how I travel the world, and do it very cheaply. I think the one was that 12. I was in Thailand. I think that the entire trip, round trip, very nice hotels, eating 3 meals a day, and then all the tours and everything that we did. I don't think that trip was $1,200 total.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yep. So it's just on how you know how to travel. So
that's true. And I know a lot of people, really, you can do things in significant luxury once you get to those countries. A lot of times, it's getting there that's not very affordable, and then kind of not not getting caught in some of those tourist traps. So the places that you go are always really incredible. So that's fantastic. So I know. Oh, thank you. All right. So this is my son here. Sit down, Brutus. My 200-pound son. So do you primarily market through social media? And
I do. But what was that? What was the last part?
I said, do you primarily market through social media and YouTube? I know you also have a Patreon.
Yeah, but I don't do much with the Patreon. I don't market the Patreon very much, and so I have a few followers that are my Patreons.
Your patrons, yes.
Right, and I can't appreciate that enough. But it's not something that I really focus on.
Okay.
But as far as marketing is concerned, and back on that point, and one of the reasons why I don't, focus on Patreon is because I'm sponsored. I'm sponsored by Zillion Rainbow Mealworms.
Okay.
So I don't, I'm with Patreon to fill in the gaps, basically.
Okay.
And if that sponsorship ever ends, then I'm going to have to rely more on Patreon.
Right. And I know you also have a merch line as well.
I do, yeah.
Teespring.
Yep, with Teespring. They partner with YouTube, but that's not a lot of money either.
Right.
So I'm going to start to make these sets of T-shirts and have them for sale outside of Teespring and whatever. But, marketing is the hardest thing that a YouTuber, faces.
I agree.
Because, yes, I upload once a week, but, it's not, hey, I'm going to edit this video and then upload it.
Right.
It's 12 to 14 to 16-hour days, marketing and figuring out the next shoot and editing next week's video and, coming up with thumbnails and it's a lot of work. And I don't think people realize just how much work it is. But, it's not, sometimes I just don't have time for marketing.
Right.
So I will put something on my, on Dave Kaufman's Reptile Adventures on Facebook or on my own Facebook. I'm not very active on Twitter at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's hurt me actually, because YouTube, I don't know, YouTube is the main platform. Their policies and how they do business is atrocious. To be honest, it's every move that they make is counter productive to the creator.
Right. There are so many of us. To keep from going bankrupt, I feel like they utilize their algorithms the best they can to keep us off their trail. So we're earning as little as possible.
Absolutely.
Which is frustrating.
And that algorithm is astoundingly broken.
Well, I think it's effective because it works in keeping us. Number one, they do very little to educate us on how the algorithms work.
They don't want us to know. Yeah.
Once people figure it out, they change them.
Yep, that's exactly it. So you are constantly trying to figure out what YouTube wants from you.
Right.
And that takes so much time and so much energy. Right. And that time could be better on, marketing the channel. So my channel right now is making no sense. So one video will get 50,000, 100,000 views. The next video will get 3,000 views. And I have no answers for it. And then the algorithm will kill a video in the first half hour after you've uploaded. I don't know if you know this. In the first half hour after you've uploaded, that's when the algorithm makes the decision on whether it's a good video or not.
Interesting. I thought that was a 48-hour window.
Yep. That's the second tier.
Wow.
But the algorithm already has figured out if it's a good video within the first half hour. And that's before most of your subscribers know that you've uploaded.
Right.
So it is constantly chasing the algorithm and trying to figure out what it is that YouTube wants, so that all of the people that were nice enough to subscribe to us can actually see our videos.
Right.
And right now, 16% of our subscribers are being notified of uploads.
Really?
16%.
Wow.
Yep.
Interesting.
Even if you hit the bell. Yeah.
Those who are interested in becoming content creators, we definitely encourage you to do so. It is rewarding in a lot of ways, but it can be a little frustrating at times. It's definitely not an easy way to make money.
Nope.
It is a full-time job. And so I want to thank you, Dave, for everything that you've done, because I enjoy your content so much.
I enjoy making them. And if yes, I am making a living off my channel. And if I wasn't, I wouldn't be doing my channel, to be honest. Because I, have to find something else to earn a living. You
wouldn't have the luxury of doing it.
That's right. But I love every second of it. I complain about YouTube left and right. I love it. I absolutely love every minute of what I do. And I'm grateful. If YouTube didn't have the platform, I wouldn't have a job. So,
right. Or this job anyway.
Right. It's a yin and a yang,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, for all the ladies out there, and maybe some of the gentlemen, I shouldn't say ladies.
All right, fine. It's not CBD oil.
Is there no Mrs. Kaufman?
There is no Mrs. Kaufman.
Oh, any prospects of a Mrs. Kaufman? I'm a Mrs., so I'm not asking on my own behalf. I'm all the women out there.
There is a prospect.
Oh, yes. All right. Yes. Well, that's very exciting. Any possibilities she might show up on your channel at any point?
You know, it's funny because she loves the snakes, and she was not a herper until she met me. And she is so perfect because she encourages me to get more snakes.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, she's extremely supportive, and she's awesome, and we have a wonderful story about, you know, our lives together. Yeah, she's pretty awesome. Wow. But maybe one day I'll get her in front of the camera. We'll see.
Awesome. Well, she sounds incredible.
She actually is.
How long ago did you meet her?
Where are we now? 19?
Yep.
30 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, she was, well, I won't get into the story, but she was 14 and I was 19 when we met.
Ooh, that's romantic.
And we started dating when she was 17.
Okay.
Yes, and then we broke up. She went off and did her thing. I went off and did my thing. We found each other every 10 years, just by however. And then a year ago, we found each other permanently.
Wow. That's really amazing.
Yeah, she is amazing.
So is she living near you at this point?
Yeah, right over there.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, that's really sweet.
So she and her son live with me, yeah.
Oh, how old is he?
He'll be 16 in October.
That's
and he is really into the reptiles too. So we're one big reptile family.
That's awesome. That's just perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect little trio.
Yes.
Fantastic. Well, so I've already kept you on an hour, and you've been so generous with your time, and I really appreciate it so much. So would you have any word of wisdom for someone who is interested in animals and considering getting into the hobby and or becoming a content creator?
Okay, so I'll do the animal one first.
Okay.
If you want to work with snakes and become a breeder, find your niche within a niche, I always say.
Okay.
So the niche is reptiles.
Right.
Find a reptile that you are passionate about, like me and bull snakes, and focus on that. And if you're going to work with ball pythons, find a gene that you really enjoy and work with that gene like I do with pieds.
Okay.
That's the biggest thing. A lot of people, you know, there's nothing wrong with diversity. There's nothing wrong with having a diverse collection. But if you want to do it as a business and if you want to get known in this industry, you're going to get known by what you're working with. So there that is. As far as being a content creator, unfortunately, it is really difficult to start to become a content creator now.
Right.
And the reason is because YouTube now wants you to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 minutes of watch time before they'll monetize your channel.
Right.
And it can be extremely difficult to reach that point. Another thing that's against you starting now, if you want to be like a reptile content creator, is the reptile YouTube world is really saturated. Mm-hmm. Really saturated. And so, and so you have to come up with something different. You can't just say, you know, hey, here's my pets. And I knew that going into this channel, and that's why, you know, wanted to start to travel the world to find very popular pet reptiles and show what they're doing in the wild. Mm-hmm. Not only because half the people have no idea where their pet comes from in the world, but, you know, what it's living on and what it's doing in the world and how it's earning a living in the wild so that we can better know how to care for them in our homes. So if you want to start a reptile related channel, you have to have a gimmick now. You have to have not a gimmick per se, but you have to have something that sets you apart from every other reptile YouTuber out there.
Right. I agree.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic advice.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a funny story, and I didn't have permission to tell this, but I'm going to. So after I saw the
That's all the time we have. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
10 more seconds. After I saw the Herpers DVDs, which, by the way, I used to have a big, giant TV in my snake room.
Nice.
And we would play Herpers. We would play your DVDs in our room over and over because we didn't really know about podcasts. I don't know if there were no podcasts back then. There probably weren't. I mean, it was just like animal stuff. We wouldn't, I mean, of course we had seen them, but we would just listen to them, and it was what we had. We had some like old VHS recordings of like Discovery shows, and we had one VHS of Turtle Man. I don't know, he's like a alligator snapper breeder from somewhere, and I had an animal from him for a long time ago. She died like last summer, but anyway. So I was like, this guy is so cool. We could be friends, all this stuff. So when you started your YouTube channel, I actually messaged you a long time ago. Like, you should come to my house and blah, blah, blah. Cricket. No response. So.
Really? I usually try to, like, even people that comment on my videos, I try to respond to.
I know. I'm teasing you.
Yeah.
I was overlooked, and that's okay. So that makes it especially momentous that you were here with me today. And yeah, I just have so much respect for you, and you're really awesome.
Thank you.
And I know a lot of people were really excited about this episode. So thank you so much for making time for our people. We've got a couple more people that have jumped on the chat, and they're all excited about your lady.
Nice.
Yeah, people are just super psyched about, I guess, your Patreon. People want to check out. I'm going to link all of that below, guys.
That's awesome.
His Patreon, his merch line, his Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all that stuff's going to be in the description box. So, of course, if you're not already subscribed, which you probably are, you wouldn't be watching, check out Dave and all the cool stuff that he's doing. Awesome guy. I've never, ever heard a bad story about you. I've heard funny stories, but not bad stories.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I heard one funny story about just exactly how exhausted you were when you got back from Thailand. You actually stayed with a friend of ours, and yeah, I guess you were in a dire need of a shower by the time you got there. So the real deal, Dave is really out there in the bush working hard for all of our entertainment.
We were talking about that before the podcast, and I don't even remember where that was that I was at Ryan's, and I don't even remember where it was.
Well, Ryan remembers. That's what people about it.
Ryan will always remember that type of stuff, and he will always remind me. So I don't need to remember. Next time I see Ryan, he'll be like, "Hey, remember that time my dirty under your dirty under?"
I'll remind you.
Yeah. So I said it, so we can tell that story.
So yeah, I want to thank Zilla too for sponsoring. Dave and I, obviously, without their support, I would not be able to bring you everything I do, and Dave wouldn't maybe be able to do everything that he does. They're awesome. What's your favorite Zilla product, would you say?
I love their front opening enclosures.
Oh yeah.
Yep, they are. They're just starting to get noticed, but after keeping all the other ones, Zilla's, and I'm not saying this because I'm biased, sort of. That's all the enclosures that I have are front openings from Zilla because they're just easier to use, I think, and I like them a lot.
So here's one thing about Zilla that maybe some people don't know. Their products are actually designed by engineers that keep and work with animals every day. Right. And so, I mean, everything that they do and design is not just economical or research-based, it's experience-based as well. And so Ryan McVeigh is one of those guys. Bill Stewart is one of those guys, and they're friends of ours. And just an amazing company. They support USARK And yeah, awesome, fun stuff all around.
Yeah. It is, you know, it's hard for me to, you know, praise them because everybody thinks I'm biased because they're one of my sponsors. But I will say that when the first time that I went to the Zilla headquarters and saw their lab and saw the front end, you know, like we talked about the front opening cages,
Right.
I watched those being developed.
Exactly.
And met the people that were developing them. And these aren't just, you know, people, hey, can you make this product for us? No, these are people that actually have pets, that actually designed these enclosures and their products based on, hey, I want the best possible life for my pet.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, I think that was all for today. I hope the last 15 minutes wasn't too agonizing.
Not at all.
Awesome. Well, yeah, you're just so incredible, and
Thank you.
thanks for being here.
My
My audience is thanking you, and of course, I'm going to send you the link for the show if you want to share it with your peeps, and they're going to be watching you. And
Sure.
fantastic. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this up-close personal interview with Dave Kaufman of Dave Kaufman's Reptile Adventures, and I'll see you guys soon.
Take care, guys. Rattle on.